This is a reading for you. It is not attached to a zodiac sign nor a timeline. The intention is if you come across this reading, it should benefit you in some way. That being said, let's get started. I've pulled some cards for you. I feel like there's sort of an up and down energy with a situation in your life. It possibly could be a strain on a relationship, or you're not receiving equal effort in some way. There's something about overcoming a conflict or healing. It's sort of like taking a leap of faith, but there's also sort of this black cloud that lingers over the whole thing for whatever reason. Now behind you, it's like this is established. Particularly if it's a relationship, but it could be anything that you're sort of established in, and even in union with. So this could be even a project, something that you're, but with the Two of Cups, I do generally tend to think of, relationships. It doesn't even necessarily have to be romantic. It could be, but there's it's almost like there's further clarity needed. There's, and this could become frustrating to someone, by the way. There does seem to be sort of a tension around the whole thing. And, you're sort of holding back or restraining out of a sense of wisdom, really. Because again, there's a lot of potential here. Everything is good. Everybody's perspective is good. You have the Empress and the outside influence. You're sort of joyfully, moving towards goals or achieving this goal, or, but there's sort of this moment of pause. And I think that there is faith through this. You have to see how things maybe develop even, or if you're waiting to hear from someone or waiting for approval on something. It could get kind of frustrating watching for it. So maybe try and not worry about it so much maybe. But there is sort of an intensity to this whole thing that you or someone else is experiencing, or maybe both of you. There's something very dominating about it, at least in your mind. And it feels stuck. There's a sense of uncertainty. And I think you're just sort of trying to navigate that right now. I do want to take a moment to promote my Patreon. That is where all of the extended versions of these readings go, as well as exclusive content and monthly art prints. It's also a great way to support me as an independent artist and creative. And I'm so stoked on the Patreon, and I appreciate every single one of you. If you are interested in working with me on a one-on-one level, I do have personal readings available, as well as artwork for sale on my website. All this stuff can be found in the description below. And of course, like, subscribe, all that. Man, I don't know why I just called you man, like whoever you are. But there's two kinds of suffering to endure. There's the suffering of getting it done, even though maybe it's hard. Maybe there's restrictions, limitations, or you have to push yourself or whatever, and it sucks, but then you get there and you overcome it and you see successful results from it and you can feel proud of it and all this. Or there is the pain of not doing and just staring at something and letting fear sort of overrun. It almost suggests that you're defending your fear because it's like you know better, and you're still sort of just contemplating your inevitable demise. At least that's how you see it, maybe, and sort of just dragging your feet. Stop doing that. I'd much rather suffer the first one than the latter. You know, the first one really shouldn't even be considered suffering, but I do understand it can be hard to be motivated, but there, you know, there's something to kind of get a move on with. You know, I think that you spent a lot of time sorting things out and figuring it all out and contemplating this and that, and I think that it's sort of clear now. It should be. So why do you know, it feels like being stuck in this pattern of analyzation, you know, or just debate but for no real reason almost. It's just sort of habitual at this point because you've spent so much time doing it. And I think there's a need to sort of break the habit or break the pattern of how you're doing things. And also stand up for yourself, maybe walk away from certain things, even if it's kind of sudden. There's a need to, like, even if you're afraid to, sort of like defend your stance on something or defend how you feel or whatever it is, you know, there might be a bit of a need to stand up for yourself. So as far as what you can expect, you know, maybe get out of your emotions a little bit, because there's almost this need to see things clearly. You know, it's kind of that, like, that moment, this is what's basically occurring or going to occur. Everything sort of builds to that moment where, you know, the suffering is just too much and you get going. It's like the fear of the consequences of, or the fear of the consequences of not doing and sort of the stagnancy and all this stuff versus the fear of just going for it is, you know, transcended. There's also something definitely around relationships here, and maybe a need for boundaries, or like to still kind of maintain a sense of your own independence and not be so wrapped up in something or so involved with other people. Maybe it's not even a specific relationship, but just other people and everything else, and really take time to do the things that you need to fucking do. You know, because that can be a challenge sometimes, especially if we're very busy or have a lot of different obligations or personal situations that come up or whatever. So really make sure you're in your own corner here. I feel like that specifically, there's a need to sort of be in your own corner, because everybody else is thinking of themselves, so why not you? You know, like, it feels necessary right now. It's, you know, to be selfish and not helpful is a fallacy in itself, but it's also not beneficial to give what you don't have, and that includes time, energy as well. So I'm going to take this to the extended on my Patreon. I appreciate you all being here. I hope that it was helpful for you. If you enjoyed it, feel free to like, subscribe, and if you want to join us for the extended, definitely do. Have a great night.